we've started by focusing on economy, and that is, I think, a crucial part of the puzzle because it impacts everything. Ms. Reddy spoke about employment and CMIE's data, and I'm going next to Mahesh Vyas of the CMIE to ask that very question. He's joining us today on the show. Mr. Vyas, welcome to this special edition of the India Development Debate, and in this section we're going to focus on the question of employment. As Ms. Reddy said, the numbers on the face of it seem to be improving. The unemployment rate has improved and come down to about 6.3 odd %. Does this mean things are better? Explain the data to us.
I think the unemployment rate falling is true but deceptive. The unemployment rate is not a very good indicator for India because our labor markets are not adequate in the sense that the labor participation rate is extremely small, and we still have a deficit over there compared to where we were before the lockdown began. So right now, the employment rate, that is the number of people who are employed, is still only around 37.5% or so, which is very low compared to the 39.5% we had in 2019-20 and 40% we had before that. So, it's not the unemployment rate that is important. What is important is how many people are employed. And the employment rate is falling. That is the problem. So reading the unemployment rate, which just tells you it's a ratio of those people who are trying to get jobs and not getting jobs as a percent of the total labor force. But what about the fact that the labor force itself has shrunk? And that is the stress, that people after 4 to 6 months are dejected that this is not going to go anywhere soon, so I'm going to give up looking for a job. So there are those discouraged workers, and that's 2% of the working age population who are now discouraged, and they're saying, well, we are not looking for jobs. So if you add them, what does the unemployment rate become? So that's the problem. So looking at the unemployment rate alone is very, very incorrect. The number has come down, but that's not the correct number to look at. Look at the employment rate, which is 2 percentage points lower than what it was a year ago.
So, Mr. Vyas, you've often talked about your urban salaried workers or your formal employees as being now more vulnerable. I think the last number you put out is about 20 million jobs were lost in all since April. What is the trend here that you see going forward? Which are the most vulnerable categories among these formal employees?
Well, the corporate sector, which is the largest, which is the most important employer of salaried employees. So government is separate. So let's keep government out, but let's take the corporate sector, including public sector enterprises. The corporate sector is looking at this economic shrinking in a very calibrated manner. So in the beginning, it focused on ensuring that its running costs are reduced to ensure that they don't collapse under the weight of income not rising or income falling. So raw material costs go down, travel costs go down, power costs go down, and that's where the focus was. So if you look at the results of the listed companies, their top line has shrunk and their operating expenses have shrunk, more or less in tandem. But the wage bill has not shrunk proportionately. So they're going slow in dealing with human resources. They know one thing: if they have to buy some raw material, they can always buy it tomorrow when the business picks up. But if they lose people, getting the team back to work is a lot more difficult. So people are not as easily expendable. But if the lockdown becomes longer, then they will start reducing people in various parts. Now, in this reduction, the first set of people who lose out are the people who have got the least experience and therefore the least value for the company. Who are these people? They're not anymore the people close to retirement. Those are now increasingly getting valued, and you'll see people working far beyond 58, 60, 65 as well. But it is the younger people who have been taken, keeping in mind that there are expansion plans. When those expansion plans get seriously challenged, then it is the younger, new people who have joined in less than a year or 2 years ago, are the people who get cut because there are no new jobs, there's no expansion happening. I don't think the jobs for middle management or senior people is as challenged. But if this meltdown continues, then it will start the cutting in many more parts. And that's going to be a lot more severe because it will mean cutting down of departments. When they cut departments, it's going to be middle management, top management, and freshies, all of them will get impacted. So I think the younger people have got hit. The people who are less experienced, less valued to the company are the ones who have been hit already. And I think this varies from sector to sector. In some sectors, full departments are shut down. In some manufacturing companies, they'll retain the most valuable people who can deliver value when the economy picks up.
So there is a lot of talk about how things will improve with the festive season. You've had e-commerce companies saying that they will hire a lot more in the festive season. There will be more demand generated, etc. Do you see this having any kind of a positive impact on the employment numbers?
The buying around the festive season will obviously be higher than it is in the non-festive season. But if this is a sign of a revival or some big boom which is around the corner, I think that's obviously very misplaced. Even the most hopeful managers, even the most hopeful businessmen will keep in mind that household incomes have shrunk, and they've shrunken quite severely, and households are very uncertain about their own well-being going forward. So even if there is some increased spending, which will be a combination of pent-up demand and festival season. So, some expenses are postponed, saying times are bad, not a good time to do, but then this becomes pent-up demand after some time, and those expenses can happen during the festive season. And some of it, because this is festive season, will draw upon even our savings to spend. But this is not a revival. This will be some pent-up demand, it will be some festive season spending, but this is nowhere close to what can be called as a revival and a hope after which things will all be good. So that will be completely misleading.
So we can only hope that there is enough action in the next couple of months to stave off any deepening of unemployment. Well, thank you so much, Mahesh Vyas, for joining us. I mean, I could easily say the foremost authority on employment data in the country today, which is privately available.